Then behind him, Stefan Wilson. His brother, so likable, Stefan the same.
The goal was to race in the Indy 500 together. Obviously, yeah, we didn't get the chance to do that, with him passing away in 2015. And then I made my first start at Indy in 2016 at the 100th running. So that was a pretty cool experience, but obviously, a bittersweet one as well.
Welcome to The Second Act, a monthly video series introducing you to interesting people with really inspiring stories. I'm your host, Brianna DiPilato, and our guest today is Stefan Wilson, Indy 500 race car driver. Now, Stefan began his racing career at a young age, following in his brother Justin's footsteps. It was a passion that they both shared, so when Justin tragically passed away, Stefan continued to race for the both of them.
My career is mostly focused on the open wheel racing.
Here comes Wilson, looking on survey for the lead.
It starts in like little go-karts, when we're like 9 years old, which is kind of crazy to believe that I've been doing this since then, which is like 22 years, which is blows my mind now. But yeah, starts in little go-karts and then it just gets bigger and faster from that point on.
6 laps to go.
Kind of always had this ambition to reach the top level of the sport, which you can go two paths. I could have stayed in Europe and pursued Formula One and that sort of route, but chose to follow my brother's footsteps and come to America and go more the IndyCar route.
Stefan Wilson's going to take the lead.
As a young 19-year-old, very naive, landed in the States and then clawed my way to racing in Indy Lights and then IndyCar and then finally the Indy 500.
You had a great relationship with your brother, and it also had to be a little bit competitive at times, right?
Yeah, no, he was 11 years older than me, so he was. I was always looking up to him and like the little brother that was trying to hang on his coattails, and everything he got into, I wanted to do as well, and wanted to compete with him, whether it was racing on video games or in go-karts or whatever, So the dream was always for me to race at the top level against him, I managed to achieve that in 2013 when I raced in the Grand Prix of Baltimore, and I was actually teammates with him. So on the same team, working together, and it was that was probably one of the coolest experiences that we got to share. And the goal was to race in the Indy 500 together. Obviously, yeah, we didn't get the chance to do that, with him passing away in 2015. And then I made my first start at Indy in 2016 at the 100th running. So that was a pretty cool experience, but obviously, a bittersweet one as well.
What did Justin think about you being the little brother following in his footsteps?
He enjoyed it, but at the same time, it was interesting because he always wanted to share knowledge or his experiences and his knowledge to try and help me, but at the time, I was so headstrong and wasn't necessarily taking some of that advice he was giving me. Looking back, I'm like, I really should have taken a lot more of his advice and not thought at the time that I knew better.
Stefan Wilson and the driven to save lives Honda still has the lead. About a 10.
I think people who are watching that are familiar with you on the track know, your racing style or know a little bit about you. But if they're familiar with you at all with your efforts off the track, they would know also that you raise awareness for organ, eye, and tissue donation. So can you talk about where that comes from, why you're so passionate about it, and what your connection is?
Before August 2015, I had no connection to organ donation. I didn't realize how important it was. I wasn't even an organ donor myself. It's just not something I'd even thought about. It never affected any of our family members, any of our friends. In August 2015, my brother was critically injured in an accident in an IndyCar race at Pocono, and yeah, he didn't make it, but he'd made a decision to be an organ donor, and his decision to say yes to an organ donation actually saved 5 lives. Which was just incredible. I've always been incredibly proud of Justin, everything that he's done in racing, but what he did that day was something I was even more proud of. I mean, we were suffering the worst day of my life, and he's always thought of other people. He's always he's always sort of known as that big friendly giant in the IndyCar paddock. I mean, he was the tallest driver by far, over 6'4". Everyone always wondered how he fitted in the cars. He was that big, but he was always known for his kindness and his generosity with his time. Spending time with his fans and stuff like that. So he was always known for his giving, and like I said, what he did that day, and while we were having the worst day of our lives, some people were 5 families had received that gift of life.
To folks that maybe weren't able to watch him race and didn't know him personally, explain who he was.
Yeah, he was just this most competitive, aggressive driver on the racetrack, and off the racetrack, just the nicest guy. And that's just not just me as his brother saying, oh, he was a nice guy, but like everyone he met has the same opinion of him. And they just could not believe the 2 different sides of him. One, the competitor on the racetrack, and then off the racetrack, and just how nice and friendly he was. And definitely someone that I look up to, and that I inspire to be like.
So when you race, is he always on your mind?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Particularly at Indy, because he had such a great career there as well. He had eight starts at Indy, led laps there, was in contention a couple of times to try and win it. So he knew how hard I was working to get into that race as well. And a couple of times tried to help me position myself to land a certain opportunity, but it didn't quite work out. So yeah, I think in 2016, getting to race that race, it was important to me because I wanted to make him proud. He always made me proud, everything he did in his whole career. So I wanted to try and like I said, make him proud. And what was really cool in 2018, I got to lead my first laps at Indy, and that actually put me and Justin in a unique group. There's only four pairs of brothers that have led laps at Indy, and that's the Unser brothers, the Chevrolet brothers, like the Chevrolets from like back in the early 1900s, which was really, really cool, and then the Lazia brothers. So that was a cool moment. I wasn't even aware of that stat until after that race, and that was definitely humbling.
What, I guess, are some of your other interests? We know Stefan the racer, we know Stefan in honor of his brother and kind of the advocate for organ, eye, and tissue donation. What else should we know about you?
I'm actually quite boring. I race, and when I'm not racing, I'm thinking about racing. So very outside of that passion of racing, the only other thing I could think of is my dog Enzo. I love that little guy. So I spend a lot of time with him, obviously. And but yeah, outside of racing the Indy 500, I'm not I'm not that exciting.
What would you say to people, I guess younger folks watching, that maybe before watching this video they didn't think about donation at all?
I'd say that's not uncommon. I think that I was in the same boat. I'd not even thought about it until I was forced to think about it. But it is, there's no better time to say yes, and it's so easy to do, and it's a decision that really has no impact on you, but it can have a huge impact on other people's lives. And that's probably the greatest gift you can give to some people.